So we've talked about how you've been inspired and how people have inspired you. Is there a moment where you've inspired someone else?
I think this is this is a good question, and I really I really struggle with kind of I guess talking positively about myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I can stand on stage in front of a room of people and interview a dauntingly impressive entrepreneur or something like that. But yeah, this I find hard. Maybe a couple of examples. So I'm a Newcastle Uni graduate, so I actually studied history at uni. I get the irony of now working in shiny futurist technology. And obviously I've studied journalism as well, and now I'm in tech. So when I work with Newcastle Uni and as part of the alumni, speak to different faculties. So again, history undergrads, journalism students, but the careers service actually really helped me at university. So I came out, good degree from a good university, couldn't get a job. Very naively, just kind of didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, or maybe even what I could do, and that service really helped me as well. So I genuinely believe in the idea of like paying it forward and paying it back, and kind of. I think I certainly don't mean from the money that people donated me on that GoFundMe page, which is part of it, but I've genuinely benefited from the knowledge, experience, and help of so many people in the Northeast. Be that people who have been ecosystem builders in the tech sector, people who have been entrepreneurs and creatives, people who have been C-suite level or whatever it might be. So I really. I do believe in kind of like, putting my money where my mouth is and walking the walk. So I'd go back and do that. And I've had various comments, which have then turned into relationships and contacts over the year, where I've, I guess, become a mentor for others. So I think that's something that I cherish. I guess away from the lens of the sort of the region and the sector, when I started posting these public rehab videos on social media, and when I started writing about dealing with trauma and mental health, I think one thing that shocked me was the amount of messages that I would get. So I would get general messages on, say, like a post of maybe me trying to swim, for instance.
Yeah.
And I would have people saying, I can see you working hard. This is inspiring. Keep it up. And I would love that stuff, and that would fuel me to, keep going.
Yeah.
But I had one guy funnily enough, actually in Silicon Valley. So from the tech world, but then I guess permeating my personal life. And he'd, in true Silicon Valley nature, he'd fallen out of an avocado tree, which sounds. You wouldn't get that in Gateshead, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
And but in all seriousness, he'd fallen out, and he'd broken his back, and the extent of the damage wasn't as severe as mine, but it was he was impaired, put it that way, and he'd basically emailed and said, look, I've been following you on social media and I've seen these videos, but actually I've started reading your words as well. I didn't realize you were a writer. And he said, honestly, the commitment that you have really, really inspires me. And I started realizing there's a guy called Chris Owens, who I'm sure you know, who Northeast photographer, who runs the Pattern Networking event.
Yes.
Chris is typically, like a lot of people in the sort of the Newcastle kind of business community, he's just a really good guy, really authentic. And I put a post out on Instagram where I'd finally got to the point where I started having a bit of self-worth again. And I wrote this post and shared these pictures and these wins of my rehab. And I said, look, I don't know who this post is for, and I by no means have any intention to come across as preachy or an influencer here or anything like that, but here are some things I've learned, and here are some reflections that I have. And I said, look, as I say, I don't know who it's for, but, believe me, if you're in the worst place that you could possibly be in, there is always hope.
Yeah.
And Chris wrote back something really succinct and really profound, and this is me building Chris up here. Usually I'm taking the mick out of him. and he said, Jamie, this is for everyone. And I
Yeah.
kind of, I was like, do you know what? You're right. Like, it doesn't matter what you're dealing with or, what the challenges are. Like, everyone has them. Some are seen, some
Yeah.
are public. Quite often they're unseen, and actually just by, I guess, showing some vulnerability and connecting and wanting to help and wanting to, and just being a human, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's worth something. It's important. So, I suppose a bit of inspiration back at me, which I very much appreciated.